Yeah.
All right, so welcome to Greg's Gruns again. Today we're going to be talking about the best pistol caliber. That's right, 45 ACP, also known as 45 AARP. This is an Alchemy Custom Gunworks Prime Elite and a Melt Sparks Summer Carry 2. And I just did a video on this gun as a standalone video. It's wearing some Greg's grips, hand checkered grips. But this is just a short overview. It's probably not going to end up being short, but it's a short overview of my 45 collection. Of course, everybody knows 45 is the best caliber for taking down Tiger tanks. If you're shot with 45, it doesn't just kill your body, it also kills your soul. So, all things to consider when thinking about 45. These are Spear Gold Dot Plus P's in this bad boy right here. Since it's in my hand, let's talk about this gun. This gun is, of course, an Alchemy Custom Gunworks Prime Elite. You can look up what that is exactly on their website. I've shot this gun a little bit, a couple hundred rounds through it. No problem, seems to be pretty accurate. Essentially, it is the solution to my 1911 problem. I have 5 or 6 other 1911s, and they're all kind of a disappointment in some way. And some of them I'll be going over in my 45 collection. But this gun seems to be kind of the answer. It is still single stack, it is still a 1911, but solves a lot of the problems that you have with 1911s that cost less than this. So, so far I really like it. It's got a flush cut muzzle. It's got hard chrome finish, which is something I really wanted to get. It's kind of a retro finish. It's got a flush pin. It's got an AMB safety, ring hammer, a perfectly fit beaver tail, front strap checkering, and an undercut for your finger, which feels really good. Also got an enlarged ejection port and a mag well, which for single stack is pretty good because you end up reloading a lot, which is, well, that's just part of the game with single stack. So if you're going to be reloading a lot, it might be nice to have a mag well. That's pretty much it. It's, like I said, I've got another video on it if you want to know more, but I might occasionally carry it. So I got this Melt Sparks holster for it. It's pretty nice, and it looks really good with those grips on there. Wink, wink.
Hello there. As you all know, the Patriots have raised the prices on everything to stimulate the war economy. This means that the cost of production has really gone up. If you feel like supporting the channel, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, share the video, and if you want to be really good, click the link below for the Patreon.
Next up is my Sig P220, and the Sig P220 has been around for quite a long time. I'm not going to get into the full history of the Sig P220. Suffice to say that it was developed in Switzerland in 9mm as a single stack. This is also a single stack. In the US, it's known as being in 45, though. Most popularly in 45. This is a German-made one. It says made in Germany on there. Made in Germany. Anyway, this is a made in Germany example, and it has the insert for the slide. The slide is made out of a piece of stamped sheet metal, which you can tell if you look at the front of it. There's some gaps in here. Basically, this section of the nose was welded on, and the slide itself is a really thick piece of sheet metal that was bent, and sheet steel, and then this breech block was added to give it more strength. The 220s are great. I really like this handgun. If you want a DASA in 45, it's a pretty awesome choice. I got lucky on this one, didn't pay out the ass for it. German guns are always more desirable. I really like the DASA German SIGs, and maybe one day I'll get a Swiss one, hopefully. But for now, I just have my regular P220 and 45. Yes, it is single stack. That's okay. It does have a threaded barrel on there, which this gun is really quiet when it's suppressed. Most 45s are, but the 220 is a really good suppressor host. Works out that the geometry, internal geometry, makes it pretty nice gun to shoot. Also, it's got a really heavy recoil spring, which makes it stay closed longer. I guess that's kind of what I hear. When you're shooting suppressed, the longer the breech is closed, the quieter it is. So that might have something to do with it. But I do really like shooting this gun. I haven't shot it in a hot second, but it is classic SIG goodness, except in single stack 45, which, yep, somebody gave me this pistol. I wouldn't be upset about it. It's definitely a nice addition to my 45 collection. All right, next up we have the HK USP45 Tactical. What makes it tactical? Well, it's got a threaded barrel, and it's got a little dingus over travel stop for the trigger. This is a version 1. It does say tactical on there. And this particular gun is from the early 2000s, I think, before the assault weapons ban expired, because it came with some 10-round magazines. I have a short on Mark 23 and HK USP45 mag compatibility, and essentially the only difference is the base plate. It's different with these band mags because they've got the stupidity plug in the bottom, but if you've got an HK USP45 magazine, it'll work in this gun, and if you change the base plate out, it'll work in Mark 23, because it's the same magazine body, follower, everything, just the base plate is different. I really enjoy the USP45 Tactical. I think the USP45, in my humble opinion, is probably the best 45 double stack pistol on the market, and it's really where the USP kind of stays relevant. I know relevant is a pretty subjective word. The USP, I have another video on the USP that's really rustled some jimmies, but the USP45 is really, along with the HK45, it's really the best double stack 45 out there, I think. I like the Glock 21. I like Glocks, of course, but the Glock 21, especially if you get one that's not the SF, the short frame, really feels like a 2x4 when you're holding it. It's a huge, huge pistol, and this one feels good. This one feels a lot better. I know, you know, Glock is Glock, but this also recoils less than a Glock 21 for some reason. I'm not sure why. Probably because it has some kind of German magic inside. No, it's fantastic. There's nothing bad about it. It's got adjustable sights, pretty good adjustable sights. Holds 12 rounds with the, of course, with the full non-neutered magazine, and great suppressor host. I mean, if you want a 45 pistol that will do it all, that's a modern gun, that maybe you're not real concerned about like concealed carry, maybe it's for duty or for, you know, for a suppressor or something like that. This is the modern 45. If you really need 45 pistol that is like just a fantastic all around, pretty much does everything 45 pistol. I know there's a lot of other 45 double stack pistols out there, especially nowadays, but it's really hard to go wrong with these guys. Next up, we have this monstrosity, which hopefully you already know is Mark 23. This is a reproduction of the special operations holster that they would use for these things. It's capable of holstering it with the suppressor on. There it is, the belle of the ball, the HK Mark 23. I've said a lot of things about the HK Mark 23. Is it big? Yes. I'm afraid you need to get over that fact. Is it too big? No, I don't think so. It's really, it's a large pistol, but it's not too big. It's not that heavy, especially because of the polymer frame. Holds 12 rounds. You can get extensions. I've got some extensions. I think you get 17 rounds with the mag extensions. I mean, that's fantastic. Yes, it's big. Yes, it's kind of clunky, but for suppressor host, for serious use pistol, don't really care how big it is. For nighttime use, this is obviously not a real lamb. This is the Streamlight with the IR laser and IR illuminator. So yeah, I have shot this at night. I have shot this under night vision. And when you're shooting it at night under night vision, it's fantastic. You don't really realize that you're shooting a Mark 23. It just works. It works great. It's got a great trigger. It's unbelievably accurate. It's a Mark 23. If you've never shot one, find somebody who owns one and go shoot one, because they're just magical. They're really magical pistols. Not just because of Metal Gear Solid. They are actually like fantastic. They were used by special operations and cool guys in the field. That's all I got to say about that. It's a Mark 23. Next up, we have my Colt. Oh man, that is shiny. My Colt Mark IV, which was made in 1975. And it is wearing some Greg's grips. Of course, hand checkered by me. Those are ironwood. Available as of January 2024. On my website, gregsgrips.com. Shameless plug. But this is a kind of semi-customized Series 70 1911. I believe this gentleman, Schmidt, who's based out of Richmond, Virginia, he did some customizations such as, I think he slightly enlarged the ejection port. Not very much, but maybe just cut a little bit. You can kind of tell that the ejection port has been opened slightly, has been polished. Definitely the slide has been polished and reblued. I think also the frame has been polished and reblued too. It's just wow. The safety and slide lock have also been polished, I believe. The spur hammer has been jeweled, customized that way. It's also got some Smith & Wesson K-frame revolver sights on there, which, as you can tell, you get a Smith & Wesson K-frame revolver sight picture, which is actually a really good sight picture. And it was a way that early gunsmiths could customize these guns with adjustable sights. It was before, might not have been before Bomar, but in that era, it was common to just take these Smith & Wesson sights that were readily available and just cut a channel in the top of the slide. It's like 70s optic milling, basically. Just cut a channel for it and put it in the dovetail. Also, it has to have a custom front sight as well to go along with the rear sight. Yeah, I think it also, because of these two pins, I think it also had a trigger job. It's got a very nice trigger, but it doesn't have anything like front strap checkering or a beaver tail, like a really long beaver tail or a ring hammer or anything like that. This is just kind of a sort of like a Swenson mod, like a retro mod, and I think it's really cool. It's kind of predates a lot of the custom 1911 features that you see nowadays. And this gun did have some reliability issues when I first got it, and it was because of a weak old extractor, I guess probably original to the gun. And I replaced it recently with a Wilson Combat extractor. Fingers crossed, seems to be working pretty well now. So it works. For some reason, the recoil is actually lighter than all my other 1911s in 45. I don't know why that is. So it's a really nice shooting gun. It's got a nice trigger, for some reason soft shooting, and now that it has a new extractor, it's kind of reliable. So quickly liking this gun a lot more now that it works. But it's just a beautiful, absolutely beautiful large print Colt, high polished blue Colt from the 70s that has some retro customization done to it. Next up we have my first CMP pistol. You can kind of make out the markings there. This is a Colt M1911A1, made in '44, I believe. Interestingly, the original CMP gun that I got had a Remington R1 frame and a Colt slide. Oh, that's pretty cool. Well, I got another CMP gun, and guess what it had? It had a Colt frame and a Remington R1 slide. It had the opposite. I switched them. So this isn't the exact gun I got from the CMP, but it's got a cool like rack number on there. Nothing crazy to say about this. It has I think it has a replacement barrel, so it's not the original barrel, but that's okay. It's overall, it's a freaking 1911A1. It rattles. I don't care. You know, it's a cool piece of history. It's really neat that the CMP actually was able to sell off the U.S. inventory of 1911s, which is it's just a rare win. A rare win when you can actually get something like this, because of course it's perfectly legal to own a pistol in the US, but for many reasons most of the US inventory, US arsenal never ends up in private hands because politics, basically. Rant aside, really cool that I got a Colt example and I was able to kind of assemble a 100% a slide and frame Colt M1911A1, just, you know, U.S. property marked. Just a really neat piece of history, and I do shoot it occasionally. It's nothing crazy. It's nice to shoot. It's a 1911. I'm glad to have it in my collection. It's a neat little piece of history. Also, probably the best one to destroy a Tiger tank with. Up next is my Remington R1, other pistol that I made. This one actually does have a correct Remington R1 made barrel, and this is a little bit, it's not in as good condition as the Colt, as you can tell. It's got a little bit of wear, but that's okay. Interesting. I think it's cool. You can kind of see the machine marks on the slide. It's just not quite up to the quality standards, or I should say the fit and finish of the Colt is much nicer, but it's cool to have another manufacturer from World War II. And like I said, this one actually does have the correct manufacturer for the barrel, so that's pretty neat. Nothing much else to say about it other than it's another cool piece of history. POV, you're a Tiger tank driver. For my next trick, I have one of my favorite revolvers, and I think also my oldest, not just pistol, but one of my oldest firearms in my collection. This is a Smith & Wesson M1917, made in 1918, which is pretty neat. Got a little bit of wear, as you can tell, but most of the bluing is there. It's got, I would say, be like 85 to 90% of the bluing there. Some is obviously rubbed off on the barrel. Honest holster wear, it's probably been shot a little bit, but I absolutely love these things, and they are big honking pistols. They're huge. They're even bigger than a 1911, especially with that long ass barrel. But I'm not going to get too into the history of these things, but they were used in World War I to kind of supplement the 1911s. So they give these to the doughboys. These things have been around forever. This one was famously used in Raiders of the Lost Ark by Harrison Ford. Amongst other pistols, but this is kind of the main one that he carried. Of course, there's also a Colt version of this gun, the M1917. And it's Clint Smith's, one of his favorite revolvers. Craftsmanship and quality from over 100 years ago. I think it's 106 years old or something like that. The coolest thing though is that it's in 45 and it takes moon clips, so you can get moon clips for it. It's really fast and easy to reload, just incredibly fun to shoot, really mild recoil, especially because it's a huge pistol, and buttery smooth action. Hammer, you know, everything feels great. It's just the manufacturing from this time period was stellar. The trigger sucks. It's got a really long, awful trigger, and the grip is too small. Like I've got, you know, large size hands, and the grip is definitely too small by modern standards, but whatever. It's a small price to pay for having such a cool pistol. It's not the most comfortable grip, but other than that, sights aren't bad. They're just kind of a regular, I don't know if I can get a sight picture, but it's just a regular blade. It's not adjustable, obviously, but they're on. I've shot the steel at like 25 with this thing, and it's any mistakes, any misses are definitely on the shooter. I just love this pistol. It was a random find in a pawn shop, and I had to pick it up. It was just a really cool part of any 45 collection. Needs a 45 revolver, and this is one of the best 45 revolvers in my opinion. I really love it. Finally, we have this amazing piece of technology. This is not my first gun, but my first pistol. It's a Remington, as you can see. It's a Remington R1, and it's got some extra things. It's got it's got a skeletonized hammer, and it's got beaver tail safety. It's got a mag well, and it's got hand checkered walnut grips that I made, and it's got a custom trigger. I think Wilson Combat sear and disconnector, and it's got this is a Wilson Combat extended safety, and it's got an undercut trigger guard. So that's all work that I did to it. I also kind of tried to fit the frame and the slide a little bit. Not 100% successful, as you can tell by the rattle, but this was my first pistol. This is what I wasn't terribly impressed with it, so I changed out a bunch of parts. And you know what? I still like it. If somebody gave me this pistol and said you have to carry this pistol for whatever reason, I'd be okay with it, because I know that it's reliable. It's a reliable gun, and that's really the most dubious thing about 1911s is, you know, unless I personally test it, the gun, the individual pistol, I don't really trust them. That's just me. It's just my personal thing. I know a lot of it comes down to maintenance with 1911s. Somebody handed me a random out-of-the-box 1911 and said, use this, you know, carry this gun. I would not like that, because much like AKs in the US market, there's a lot of junk out there with 1911s. It's kind of unfortunate. This particular Remington is not junk. It works. It works well. It's reasonably accurate, but at longer ranges, at like 25 and out, the sights are not on. For those of you who own these pistols, you know that the Remington R1 dovetail is not a standard 1911 dovetail. It's not standard anything dovetail. It's just a random proprietary dovetail. I'm not sure why they did that. It's kind of infuriating for people like me. I wish I could swap the sights out to be adjustable, but I can't. So, well, yes, you can find other sights for them, but I don't want to. So this is how it's staying. This is a perfectly functional gun. I'm not going to shoot it at, you know, bench rest target shooting with my pistol. So it's perfectly fine. And it's what got me into 45 and 1911s, and I kind of got away from that. Shot Glocks for a long time, shot CZs in competition, still shoot CZs in competition. Now that I'm making grips, now that I'm making these custom grips, kind of gotten back into 1911s, as you can tell, and 45. So guns like this, obviously never going to get rid of this. It's special to me, and on top of being special, actually works pretty well. It's a pretty nice little pistol. It's not little. I enjoy shooting this gun. I use it kind of as a test for fitting grips nowadays, and there's nothing wrong with it, especially for the money. You know, I of course did a lot of work to it to make it much better. But if you want a 1911 and you don't have a lot of money to spend, the Remington is not a bad option. And of course they make souped up models and with all kinds of different features, but if you just want a regular ass 1911, that will probably work. Remington is a good option for you. I know it doesn't have a forged frame, and I know that that bothers some people. I'm not going to shoot 100,000 rounds out of this gun, so it doesn't really matter to me. But if you just want a 1911 and maybe it's your first pistol, like me, the Remington is not a bad way to go. It's a good little pistol. Other than the sight issue, it's got other pretty much standard 1911 parts, so you can swap out whatever you want to. So that's pretty neat. I hope you enjoyed looking at my 45 ACP collection. It seems to be ever growing, and I just like guns in 45. I always have, probably always will. I really like 45, despite the obvious downsides, but it's pure America. I mean, it doesn't get more American than 45. So I know Europeans like it too. Some of them really can't go wrong with a good old 45. So subscribe to my channel, for fuck's sake, please.